Much better. Thank you.
All right, let's go here. We'll move on. We have the fiscal year 19 audit for Scanlon and Associates, or actually first, citizen participation. Do we have anybody today?
Yeah, Glenn, Rich Dumaraki.
I'm not getting any sound though. I don't know why.
Rich Dumaraki.
I can hear Rich loud and clear.
Can you hear me, Glenn?
The speaker. I don't know where it went. No. All right, so did Rich say something?
Can you hear me, Glenn?
I can't hear him. I don't. Where? Hang on one second, please, Rich.
Okay.
Rich, I think we can hear you, but others can't. Those in the room cannot.
Yeah, my microphone is on.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yep.
Okay.
Internet.
But it's only for your own safety. You know. Yeah.
Rich, try
Hello?
again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. Chris, you can turn yours off now, I guess. Okay, Rich,
Can you hear me, Glenn?
I can. Thank you for waiting here. Thank you.
Okay, I just had one quick comment.
Well, we should see if people are abiding by governor's rules.
Someone
Okay,
talking.
I know someone in the background's talking. If you're on the, if you're calling in or you're on the computer and you're not speaking this time, please just mute your mic. That way we don't get any cross words going across and feedback, please.
Okay, I just had a quick comment. 2 Thursdays ago, there was a microburst and 2 large trees came down over the power lines in front of my home on Bachelor Street. The police came, the National Grid came, and the Granby Highway Department came. I just would like to thank Dave DeRocher, the Highway Department, and his crew, because they did an excellent job in cleaning up the mess. I mean, there was 2 large trees and they did a very good job. I just wanted to thank them. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, Rich. We'll make sure that that gets to them. The people that were involved, I'm sure they would definitely appreciate the kind words. But thank you for mentioning that as well.
Okay.
Okay. Was there any other citizen participation at this time? Okay, nobody? All right, thank you. All right, moving on. Chris, do you have any appointments at all? Oh, we can do that, sure. He may be one of the callers. Mr. Scanlon,
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can. Yep. Okay.
Good. So am I up?
You are up, sir. Yes.
So the 2019 audit went very well. I just want to talk about like the financials. I just want to make a statement about the town's financial policies and its philosophies are really working for the town. Your reserves, which is your two main reserves, are your free cash and your stabilization funds. They're above 20% of your budget, which is outstanding. But just the way you budget, your revenues, it's very conservative. And just the people you have in place on town's finance side, just the experience they have. It's when you go through tough times like everyone's going through now with this COVID-19, that experience really stands out and does a lot. I wanted to point it out, one of the main things. So the audit went well. I got a clean opinion on the financial side. That's kind of all I just wanted to touch base on the finances on that. And then you should have got a management letter. I'll probably go over that. Again, there's no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. I just have a couple comments in there. The first one is the school department and the town accountant, they do have procedures in place to reconcile. We recommend a little bit better improvement on them. There's a couple things. There was DOR had closed out the circuit breaker funds on the town, so it increased your free cash, but we couldn't see if the school department made it on their departmental accounting records. And in addition to that, there was a closing entry that was inadvertently closed to the wrong account, which has to be circuit breaker 2. So if the reconciliations were effective, they should have caught those two instances. This is given like the past experience with the school's records. We'd like to see a little more improvement in that area. I don't know if you have any comments on that, or if anyone has any questions. Everyone's still there?
You're on mute, Glenn.
Yeah, I saw that. Thank you, Jay. Jay, you don't have any questions, right? And Jen, you either? Okay.
The only thing that I would say is there any kind of action plan that we have to put together with milestones to get the deficiencies corrected?
No, not at this time, because we don't feel they're a material weakness. Yeah, and then it's one of the areas we're gonna go over in 2020. So no, you don't have to do any formal responses.
All right, Tom, if you just want to continue, that'd be great.
Yep. And then the second one is you got some future GASB statements to keep your clean opinion going. I don't want to bore you too much with those, but they got some new lease standards coming out that will affect. And then the other areas, probably the main one there is really to monitor the school lunch deficit. June 30th, 19, it was roughly just approximately 16,000. The town's free cash was penalized at least 21,000. The difference is being in the inventory. The state doesn't count inventory towards the fund balance, so they'll penalize you for that. So just the prior history with school lunch is really to monitor that, and hopefully by June 30th, 2020, that deficit is eliminated. But to really monitor going forward. Any questions there?
And you were saying, so with that, Tom, is whatever they have on inventory, they don't count that against what is owed out? Or?
Yeah, correct. So the way inventory works is it's an asset that sits there. So you paid the cash out, so you may have bought. So I think the inventory is roughly about $6,000 at June 30th, 19. So you paid them out of your cash, but they're not a true expense because you're going to expense them for next year. The state doesn't recognize that as a true asset, so they said the deficit is higher by 21,000, and that's why they penalized you. But
Okay.
the 15,977 is more of a cash deficit. But it's really about the history that's been there with school lunches, really monitoring it. You know, you don't want your free cash to be reduced. You can try to eliminate penalties.
Right.
And then the last is a prior year comment on OPEB, which I know we've always said, we talked enough about OPEB over the years, is now that you have an OPEB trust, is really trying to get that in an investment vehicle where you can produce a little higher discount rate. I think the study used a 3.5% discount rate. I think this current one even knocked it down a little bit more. And right now you just have it in a bank account, earning, you know, I think with the interest rates of what, 0.25, 0.5. So possibly looking at that and getting a better return on the investment policy with the OPEB trust. You know, the national law governs that separately. And then really just matching it up to your OPEB study to make sure you're getting accurate numbers with the discount rate. Which I know
Okay.
Steve does an excellent job monitoring his bank accounts and trying to maximize the return. The OPEB trust is a fairly new item out there, so
Okay.
yeah. Like I said, the town's very well managed on the town side. You know, for accounting wise, financial wise, financial transactions, which. If I was sitting on the governing board, you know, those are the one words I would want to hear when it's taking place. And when it isn't, I would be the first one to point that out to you as an auditor.
And I know I appreciate that. I'm sure the rest of the board members appreciate that comment. And I would hope a lot of our town residents would appreciate that as well. I mean, it really talks about the fiscal responsibility that the people that are responsible for that, I think they're really doing their job, and they're doing their job well. So I think it says a lot.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Chris, did you have any questions at all? No. I think that's it. I think we're all set.
Yeah. All right. And then if you have any questions throughout the year, don't hesitate to reach out. And be happy to discuss any questions you have.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right. You too. Hopefully you guys don't stay too late tonight.
We never know.
Yeah. All right. Have a good
Take
one.
care. You too.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. We have some time, Chris. Do you have were there any appointments at this time?
Okay, we do have some appointments. First one is to appoint Jeremy Carrier as our right to know officer. That should be from July 1 of 2020 to June 30th of 2021. We have Joan Gagney to be appointed to the Energy Committee for the period of July 1, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. We have Bruce Carpenter. Because there's an issue that's going on at the Department of Fire Services, we really need a fire chief and not a deputy chief. So I would like to appoint Deputy Carpenter as the interim fire chief until September 8th, 2020. And we have another one when we did our appointments of part-time police officers, Ryan Bartholet, I'm sorry. Ryan Bartholet, we appointed for a 1-year period of time, and it should be for a 3-year period of time. July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2023.
So Ryan is extending it 2 years. Is that what we're doing? Or?
No, he was originally appointed for 1 year, but however, because of the contract and his filling in of enough shifts, he qualifies for a 3-year appointment.
Okay, good.
And then the final one is Rob Chauvin to the Capital Improvement Committee to replace Frank Marion, who is deceased. And that would be for July 1, 2020 through June 30th of 2021.
Okay. All right. Do any of the board members have any discussion at this time in regards to that? No? All right, I'll accept the motion at this time for the appointments.
I'll move to approve the appointments as read by Chris Martin.
Any further discussion at this time?
What does the right to know position do?
Jay, the right to know position, basically any chemical that we have in here, you probably know them as the old MSDS sheets that has to identify them. Well, we have an officer who has to make sure that every building has a book identifying any and all chemicals in there, and to make sure that people are properly trained on how to use said chemicals.
Okay, no problem. I'll second the motion on the floor.
Any further discussion this time?
So any further discussion at this time? No? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Do you want me to do the maintenance warrants? Okay, we have 4 warrants. We have warrant number 83 for fiscal year 20 in the amount of $179,841.01. That is a bill paying warrant for fiscal 20 bills. We have for fiscal year 2021, warrant number 6 in the amount of $369,119.10. That is a payroll warrant. And then we have warrant number 7 for $147,932.68. That is the maintenance warrant that goes along with the payroll warrant. And then we have warrant number 8 dated July 31st in the amount of $235,390.56. And that is a bill paying warrant.
Questions from the board members? No? All right. Accept the motion at this time to approve the warrants for fiscal year 20 and 21.
I'll make a motion to accept warrant number 83 for fiscal year 2020 and warrants 6, 7, and 8 for fiscal year 2021.
And I'll second Jen's
All right.
motion.
Thank you, Jay. All in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you, Kathy. Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I just talk about a couple other things before we move on?
Absolutely. Please do.
There is a request by the Bylaw Review Committee to have a second hearing in front of the Board of Selectmen. That'll probably be possibly a 2, possibly 3-hour meeting. Do you want to schedule a special meeting regarding that?
Yes.
When would you be available?
I'll see what the other board members, so you think it's about 3 hours meeting? Al?
Yeah, I'm here.
How long do you think the meeting, how much time do you think you would need for that?
I think, like Chris said, 2 to 3 hours. It's really, it's hard to say. It's really, determined by the discussion and the questions that come up. I think 2 to 3 hours is certainly a good estimate, but I don't know that there's going to be as many controversial issues as was in the first meeting. So it could go quicker than that, but I would say if you were to set aside that amount of time, that'd be safe.
Okay. I'd ask Jay and Jen, is there a particular day and time that works better than others?
I can do whatever works for everybody.
I don't have anything planned for the rest of this week right
Do you want to look at doing it next Monday? I know it's an off week, well, it's not an off week, but we don't meet next Monday, so would that work for everybody if we did it next Monday? We did it at 5 o'clock, or Al's shaking his head no. So that is out.
I have, well, two things. I'm going to need more time to, make sure my committee can get together as well for that day. And then two things. I need a little bit more time to prepare the information, maybe a couple weeks. But then I have a question for Chris. Because it's a public hearing, is there a number of days outside the open meeting date that needs to be posted? I don't know the answer to that. That's a question.
I'll need to look that one up myself. To be honest with you. Because I'm not sure if our bylaws talk about hearings and the time frame to post them.
I'm not sure either. I
That's
thought
how
we,
I remember the last one.
I thought we did it for the first one, but
Well, then Al, I would say you tell us what you need for time, and then we can start looking at time after that. So
I would say if you give a couple weeks, I'd be fine. I just don't know about the posting piece of that. For some reason, I thought there was a couple week posting period, but I don't know that to be true.
When you do have another off week would be the 24th of August. If you wanted to, that'd be the fourth Monday in August. If that's what you want to do.
Al, does that work for you? Okay.
Yeah, I can make that work.
All right, so while we plan as of now, the 24th, Chris will follow up with regards to timelines as when it needs to be put out there, right? If there's any time,
What time?
do it 5 o'clock. Jay, does that work for you? Jay, does that work for you? Jay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I just had to call up my calendar. Yeah, I don't have any appointments for that day.
Okay, so, all right. So then we'll plan it as such for that day.
That'll be a virtual meeting.
Yes, I'd like to, yeah, but I mean, yeah, that's gonna be a lot to probably be discussed. I think it's gonna be tough to do it that way, but
Yeah, we'll figure it out. I guess like for some of the other meetings, I'll just have to have Chris take care of the make me a presenter so I can share my screen. But other than that, that's probably all I would need.
okay. All right. Sure, we can figure it out by then. All right. What are we, I know we're a couple minutes early here before we get into anything else.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
do you want to talk about one more thing real quick?
Yes.
Okay. We do have a MSBA sign-off form that requires your signature. This is basically one of the final documents to finally close out the West Street School construction project. It requires the signature of the Chief Executive Officer, who is the Chair of the Board of Selectmen, the Treasurer, the Town Accountant, the Superintendent of Schools, the School Business Manager, and a authorized representative of the school committee. And it's already been signed by Emery Everin as Chair of the school, Carol Hepworth as the Superintendent of Schools, and Adam Tarkini as the School Business Manager. So this would be brought forth to the August meeting of the MSBA Board of Directors for approval and final sign-off and closure of the project.
Is this the same document that we got a month or two ago, that all the work was not completed or it was defective? I forget which, with lights outside, that we didn't sign off on because it was undetermined. I think Jen knew something about the lights falling down or something like that. It's been quite a while, but I remember something about it.
That was a different document, Jay. When I saw the list of outstanding items, I got a hold of our OPM to follow up and see, and I believe everything has been satisfied to the best of my knowledge. Okay, so I believe that document is already okay because I don't think there's anything outstanding at the school now. So I believe this is the final document. I believe attached to this, I think we'll get about another $670,000 payment as a final payout on this project. So.
How is that money going to be taken and put against the current loan as it is?
The money will be put back into the appropriation like we have in the past. And then we can decide what we're going to do with that money at some point in the future.
Okay, well, that'll be brought forward and either there. Okay. All right. And I will sign it tonight.
Okay, the document that I sent you electronically has one minor change in it under section 4.5, vehicle washing. In the electronic document, it mentioned about bringing trucks to truck wash or car washes, and we don't do that. We wash them in our facility, in our wash bay. I had her change that to more accurately describe what we actually do. And that's, we'll rinse them outside, which is okay as long as we're not using a detergent. It's called incidental truck washing. We can wash the slush and snow off of the vehicles in the winter. As long as we're not using a steam cleaner or a detergent outside, then we bring them in and use the detergents and the salt eliminator on it inside the building. But that's sort of described a little better in the written document that was changed or edited after the draft that I sent you. So I'd ask you to sign both of these copies, and we scan a page back and send it to them, and they'll insert it in the electronic document for permanent record. And we have to post this on the website as well to comply with the new EPA permit. I was just at a webinar this morning earlier, going over the new permit requirements. The permit becomes more onerous as it goes later in later years. The out years are much more work, more requirements. We've got two consultants working on some of our things now. One did this stormwater pollution prevention plan. Another consultant has been working on catchment delineations. We've taken grab samples of a lot of the discharges this year. So far, everything's come back clean, indicating we have no illicit discharges that we are aware of at this time. But even with that, there's so many more issues that we have to contend with in the future. Nitrogen elimination, there's got to be a plan in effect. There's loads of plans that we're supposed to write, just on normal operation plans that are just, it's like this thing here. Most of my guys are cross-trained. I mean, we might be doing trees one day and storm drains the next. So everybody's pretty much aware of a lot of this, but they want it written, and a lot of this stuff in written documents. And this is part of that start of the written documents, basically. We also have an O&M plan for the town that will have to be posted on the website as well. I've got to get back with Time Bond. I think I only have a draft copy that I never had the final version sent to us. But a lot of little I's we have to dot and T's we have to cross for this permit. So I'll ask you if you don't mind signing this, 2 copies of this document. If there's any questions on it, be glad to try to answer them best I can.
I don't know, Jen, do you have any questions?
This one's a small one. This is nothing. This is a simple one too. Wait till you see some of the others.
Jay, you have any questions?
No, I had already read it and I had called Dave with a couple of questions and he had answered them for me already. You're on mute, Glenn.
And Jay, give me 1 minute. Dave walked away, so I don't think he heard what you said.
Sorry, Jay.
No, all I said to them was, I did have a couple questions, but I called you and you answered them, so I don't have any questions now. That's all I
Okay.
said. And I assume you remember me calling you.
It's going to get more and more difficult to keep up with all of the permit requirements in the later years. Like I said, it gets pretty onerous, and
If we get that MVP grant, will that make it a lot easier?
that's only one small portion of it. Yeah, but it's going to help. But
Okay.
It's all correct, Dave.
as far as I that's the corrected version. Most of that is pretty much same old, same old. It's best management practices for everybody. It's cookbook type recommendations.
It looks like I have to sign it. It starts off, I certify under the penalty of law.
To the best of your knowledge at this point. That's 2 copies, yeah, and I'll scan a copy back to them to include in the electronic version for the website.
What's the third one? There's 3 up here. That's the next one. Oh, okay. All right. Jen, if you'd like to make a motion, allow me to sign off on it.
I will make a motion to approve the Town of Granby Highway Department Garage Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan.
And I'll second James' motion.
Okay, well, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Kathy, 3 ayes on that.
this thing too.
Okay. What's that? That was last year. On the 14th, we did go up. Last year we did the 16th. It's up to you guys. Whatever you think would be better. I think. Yeah, if we put it too late, we could have some. We were 10-6 last year. I'm saying 9-12. If you want to move it up, or we can go a little later into September. Do you want to? You want me to go? Okay, go ahead.
Are you ready, Mr. Chair?
Yes, I am.
Okay. While David's here, we'd like to talk about the bulky waste day, lawn waste days, and the paper shredding day. We are proposing a bulky waste day Saturday, September 12th, from 9 to noon, to be held at the highway garage. We are looking at a proposed lawn waste day, or yard waste versus lawn waste, on Saturday, October 24th, from 9 to 12 at the highway garage. And we are looking at a yard waste day on Saturday, November 14th, from 9 to 12 at the highway facility. And for a townwide paper shredding day, we're looking at Saturday, October 26th. September 26th. Looking at the wrong calendar, sorry, Kathy. September 26th, from 9 to 9:30 will be for our town offices, and from 9:30 to 12 will be for any residents, and that will be held here at the Council on Aging facility. And basically what will happen is people will drive up, they'll have somebody, I don't know, does the truck driver help them put it into a container? Truck driver puts it in a container and dumps it in his truck. That's all they're gonna have to do, drive in, drive out. Okay, they really won't really have to get out of their cars, so.
Can I ask a question about that?
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Both last week we were discussing prices. Are we planning on the same prices, on our website? Are you looking?
Well, I think what we need to do, whatever it costs the town to get rid of this stuff, that's what we need to charge for it. But I think the list, if I remember right, it's gotta be updated, because there were some things, like, I think, I remember, the propane tanks was one of them. The fluorescent lights was another thing right there on there, but we can't take them because we don't have a way of disposing of them, correct? So I think the list, I think get the list over to Dave, have Dave take a look at it, and it needs to be updated. And I think, and I also think that we could probably take a look at what it's costing us to get rid of some of the things, but I'm sure that the town could absorb some of the costs, but we can't, I don't know what they're charging nowadays for a mattress or TVs and electronics and things like that. So that's something we need to consider, how much it's gonna end up costing us when we're charging people too. Go ahead, chief.
Hi, just a quick question, and I believe we're talking about the same thing. I just want to make sure that isn't some goofy coincidence that we're not. That shred day that you mentioned, or that Chris mentioned for the 26th, the SALT committee had tentatively planned one for the same day. Are we talking about the same thing, or did we just hit the mark on the same tentative day by accident?
Both at the same day. Yeah. Yeah.
I know he was planning one, but I never got the final.
I think,
Yeah, so we planned that date, and obviously doing the same day. Do you want to get doing a different day, chief?
well, I'm not even sure that I would suggest a different day if the town is going to do it, or if SALT is going to do it. I'm not sure that the town needs 2 days. We had initially planned one for June, but then the pandemic hit and that changed everything. And we haven't done much with any sort of promotion of this date yet, because we were trying to get closer to it to make sure that, we weren't in the same situation where we were before, where we were advertising something that, we initially, in the end, had to cancel. So Chris is absolutely right. We did not talk about it much because it was a very tentative date. And when I saw the shred date on the agenda for today, I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's what they're talking about. But as luck would have it, you guys are planning it for the same day. We can do it either way. We can back off and maybe plan a date later, or whatever you decide. Certainly there isn't it doesn't make any sense to do it, it's on one day and then a month later. So we'll take our lead from you.
Yeah, and I know the board's been talking about it for at least a year now. And again, trying to find a date that worked. And kind of like you said, the same thing, chief, as you just said. When the COVID-19 came about there back in March, we kind of started putting things, brakes on that stuff too. So I like for us to move forward with it, and maybe the SALT can do something maybe next year. I'm sure it's, something that I know people have been asking about for some time now. And like I said, I was hoping that we would have done this sometime last year, but coming up with a date, and then we were hoping the spring, and then, that all got derailed just by the COVID-19. So I think we move forward with our date, or same date, but the date that we're going to do it, we'll do it as a town. And again, maybe if that's okay with you, the SALT can look at doing it maybe sometime next year.
It's completely fine with us. Just something to keep in mind. If SALT does it, it doesn't cost the town anything, because there was some funding that was donated by some local businesses for our event. So I don't know if that changes it for you at all. It doesn't, it doesn't necessarily change it for us. So we had planned on paying for it via partially those funds and some of the other funds from SALT. So I just wanted you to have all the information. That's all. So you let us know, and we'll, like I said, we'll take our lead from you.
I appreciate that, Chief. I'll reach out to the other two board members, to Jen and Jay, to see what their input is on that.
I would let the salt do it since they've already got the funds for it. And then we can back off and pick it up next year because they may not have the funds next year. Did you hear me?
I did, Jay. Yeah, I heard you. Jen?
I think Jay makes perfect sense. If Al has the funding source for it. Unless Al, would you be able to use those funding sources for anything else that you might need to do?
We could, although, well, I say that, no, because when we got the 2 or 3 donations that we were going to put towards that, it was specifically told that that's what it would go towards. So at least that portion of it, I wouldn't feel comfortable not using it for that. The other salt the other salt money, sure, we could, but the donations that came specifically to us from some of the banks, for instance, that's important to them. So that I would not feel comfortable. I don't think it'd be appropriate not to use that money for what it was intended for. But if the board decides that they want to do their own, we can certainly use that funding later on, next year or next spring or whatever. So either way.
So Al, the funding that you have, it doesn't go away. You have it, right? And that will cover the donations from some of the banks and all that. That will cover the entire shredding day.
The donations for that themselves don't, but between that and the other salt funding that we have would.
And you feel that funding will be still there next year if it was a chance to do it next year?
I do.
Okay, well, that's something, and I know I heard Jen and Jay speak to it. I'd rather have the town do it this time. We've already appropriated money for it. And just based on some of the things that have been said lately in regards to fiscal year 22, it will be a tough year for this town. If things don't change around a little bit, especially with the state and things like that. So I think if we have the opportunity to do it now, we do it. And as Al said, their funding doesn't go away. They still have it. And we give it the option of doing it either next year or maybe next year, later in the year, or something like that. I mean, that way we get 2 out of it. That's my thought on it.
People have already made commitments to Al to do it this year. I think we should stay with Al and his commitments. So, because he's gone out and talked to these people and they've already agreed to it. If we make a change like this now, they may not be as accountable to him if he goes back in another year or 2. So just let him do his thing and we'll back off and address it accordingly next year.
Well, I'm gonna leave that up to Al. Just says he's had the interaction with the donors and things like that. So I'm not gonna speak for him. So if that's something he feels he'd rather do.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question, Mr. Chair? If the salt council does it, will it be open to shredding of town office paperwork also?
Chris, you're asking me that?
Yeah.
I would say yes. When we talked initially, the salt committee, we were initially talking about doing it in concert with South Hadley, and I believe at one point we decided we were going to separate that. Certainly, I would talk to the salt committee, but I don't think it matters because the reality of it is we have it for a specific period of time, and I don't think the shredding company cares how much they do. They're going to be here for however many hours it is. Looks like 2 hours. So, if they shred for 2 hours straight, that I don't think it matters. So I certainly would check that with salt, with the rest of the salt committee, but I don't think it's going to be a concern. I think the town would be able to. And I should also say, I apologize for any miscommunication. This is one of those things where pandemics get in the way, and we were tentative to promote the tentative date because we didn't know where it was going, and didn't think much about it until I saw that on your agenda. So we didn't mean to throw a wrench in your works either.
Well, thank you, Chief. Understandable. Okay, then I know unless Jay and Jen feel any different, I think they both rather have Salt do it. Is that correct? All right, then Chief, Salt will be doing it on September 26th.
Great, and I'll make sure that we get the information out to the town so you can promote it on the town websites and wherever else you want to social media wise. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And the location, I believe yours was at the high school or the school campus, correct?
That's what we talked about. Again, that's not 100% yet, but now that I know that, the town is gonna kind of let us do it, we talked about that being probably one of the easiest, best places to do it. So certainly I have to confirm that with the school, but seeing as how they're not in session, I don't suspect that'll be an issue.
Okay. And I think if it becomes an issue,
You're muted again, Glenn.
if it becomes an issue at doing it at the school parking lot, I would say we can always do it here at the Council of Aging. That's where we're planning it. So for some reason you can't do it at the high school, for whatever reasons, we can do it here. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. We're moving on to, I'm going to sign the department liaisons at this time. Chris, you want to go over, you go over currently what we have, Chris, for this past year. We can talk about next year.
Well, normally the town administrator is the chairman of the board. Okay. That's their lucky task.
That's not over for debate.
Council on Aging, I believe, currently is you, Glenn.
This may, yes.
Police is Jen, currently. Fire was you, Glenn. Highway was Jay. And I believe you had building inspector too, Jay, didn't you?
Yeah, I kept building inspector because of the bow and gun club, because I'm still up on the going versus somebody new starting from scratch. So I would say I'll just keep the same two I got, if it's okay with the other two.
Okay. Jen, do you want anything different? Are you happy with what you have? No one's happy with what you have, but do you want anything different?
So I currently have police. I'm very happy with the police. Thank you, Chief. And then, well, I guess since you're taking town administrator, you're going to give up one of yours. Which one would you like to pass on? I'm happy with either fire or council on aging.
How about the counseling aging, just because I think I've been with the fire department the past year, when we look at some changes time, so I'll remain with it. It's okay.
So you want me to take the council on aging? I can do that.
Okay, Chris, you have that? You got it all? Yes.
We're gonna have fire.
Yes. Yes. Okay, thank you.
I can't hear what Chris is saying, but I can hear Glenn saying yes.
What he said is that you're gonna keep year two. Jen is going to have the COA in the police department, and I will have Chris and the fire department. As liaison. Okay.
Glenn, just a quick thought process. Would it be easier if we switched them around and you had everybody in this building and I had everybody in the public safety?
I like splitting up the fire department and police department because they're the two big departments in the town. So I like having that split up. That's just me. Okay. Moving forward and onward and upward. We have the approve and sign a warrant for the 2020 state primary.
Do you want me to read the primary warrant? Well, if you want, you can have it. I'll bring it back up to you.
I think Jen's okay with you reading it.
All right. Greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth, you are hereby required to notify and warn the inhabitants of said town who are qualified to vote in primaries to vote at the Granby Junior Senior High School at 385 East State Street in said town for precincts 1 and 2. 1 and 2 precinct numbers. 385 East State Street is the polling location. On Tuesday, the first day of September 2020, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. for the following purpose: to cast their votes in the state primaries for the candidates of political parties for the following offices: Senator in Congress for this Commonwealth, Representative in Congress, 1st District, Councilor, 8th District, Senator in General Court, 1st Hamden and Hampshire District, Representative in General Court, 3rd Hampshire District, Precinct 1, Representative in General Court, 2nd Hampshire District, Precinct 2, Register of Probate, Hampshire County. Hereof fail not, and make return of this warrant with your doings thereon to the town clerk at the time and place of said voting, given under our hands this 3rd day of August, 2020.
Time I'll accept the motion to approve and sign the warrant for 2020 state primary.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second. Did you?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Before we move forward, Mr. Chair, I'd like to bring up one more topic. I've been speaking with the town administrator in South Hadley, and both he and I have been talking about potentially looking at regionalizing our inspectional services department. Inspectional services, building inspector, electrical, quality inspections. In talking with him, even he is having a hard time keeping a building commissioner. Pardon? Yes, Michael Sullivan. What we would like to try and do is to explore the possibility of regionalization. Granby is very small. This board is well aware of how hard it's been for this town to get building commissioners, and even once they get their commissioner status, to get them to stay. He's also starting to find it's getting difficult for him to keep a building commissioner there also. As he said, even the size of South Hadley is just barely at the lower end of needing a full-time building commissioner. I think it'd be a win-win for the two of us to do a regionalization of the services. In addition, we would like to try and maybe see if there's some grants out there to help us pay for the initial cost of trying to regionalize. I'd just like to get the board's opinion on whether I should proceed or not.
Start off with Jay. Jay, what are your thoughts on that?
The only concern that I would have on that will be the zoning enforcement officer side. Both municipalities have different zoning or bylaws to be enforced. If we're gonna have the building inspector cover too, who's gonna cover the zoning on both towns? The zoning enforcement.
What's it? He wants to know, as far as zoning enforcement officer. So both towns have different bylaws. So if you have, would the building inspector be a zoning enforcement officer for both towns? And I think he'd be able to do that with different bylaws in each area.
I believe he should be able to be honest with you. It would just be a matter of him having both sets of bylaws and then referencing them as topics come up. We still have issues with our own building commissioner doing zoning enforcement in town. And maybe with the joining of forces, maybe we can hire someone who would be just a pure zoning enforcement officer and not just be the building commissioner doing it as a sideline.
I would have no problem with that, because I don't want to see us fall down on the zoning enforcement, since that seems to give us a headache a lot of times.
Jen?
What kind of cost savings are we anticipating? Are we looking at a 50-50 split, 60-40?
Those would be part of the discussions as we move forward.
I don't see an issue with talking to Mr. Sullivan about it and, finding out how valuable it is and how it would work out and, what, obviously there's gonna be a cost savings to the town. I would assume, so we can see what that cost savings would be and look at everything else that goes along with it and then kind of just go from there, see if it's feasible and for us to do it or not. But I think it's something definitely to move forward with and consider looking at it and finding out if it works for us. It was Jay and Jenna, based on what you said, I don't think you have an issue with us kind of moving forward and taking a look at it, right?
No issue. I think it's a good idea.
No, I think anything is a worthwhile investigation. It's just that I don't want to lose the zoning enforcement.
No, and that's a good point, Jay. And as I think Chris had said too, who knows, we might be able to have someone that's just dedicated straightly for, code enforcement officers. That might be more helpful. So it might be a win-win on both sides. So
Yeah,
we'll find out.
Just for example, this past weekend, I got bored in the house and my wife took me for a ride. And we saw 6 tag sales in Granby. To my knowledge, there's not supposed to be any tag sales in Granby. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But that's what I was on the impression. Tag sales unauthorized yet. And I don't think Kathy's issuing out any tag sale permits.
I know they were on hold. I don't know if there's been anything since then. I don't remember anything being changed. So.
Well, I know there was six of them this past weekend.
So that would be a good reminder for people too, that they shouldn't be doing them.
Now, shouldn't the police be closing them down?
A good question. I mean, it's that more towards, they didn't take out the permit. So would that fall on the police department? Would that fall on the code enforcement officer?
Well, that's the question I'm asking.
Yeah, so we'll get that answer, and I know the chief is with us. I don't know if he has the answer to it right now, but that's probably something we should look at.
Are you asking me a question? Okay.
But yes, I will.
Okay, so to answer your question, we can and have shut them down. We had, I don't remember the date exactly, but I'm gonna say it was a little over a week ago, the Board of Health had let us know that there was a couple in question. There was one, if I recall, was on Porter Street. We went over, had a conversation with the guy. He stopped immediately, didn't even realize he needed or said he didn't realize he needed a permit. I know there was another one that we're watching for a couple of weeks. I believe it was on Pleasant Street. They hadn't had any. I'm sure Jay's right. I'm sure there probably are some in town. It's not necessarily the first thing we're out looking for. But when we do see them, or when someone does make an issue of them, like the Board of Health did, we do go over and deliver a message, and generally speaking, people shut down. I know that there's been some areas of town that have been a problem, specific residences that have been a problem ongoing for years. Chris can probably speak to that, or maybe Kathy. But as far as whether you're not giving out permits or not, obviously has nothing to do with us. But certainly we can tell people to stop when we see them, or when someone tells us about them.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. Maybe that's something that we can just put out there from the select board. So hopefully people that are listening in, and people that end up watching this on the YouTube channel for GCAM, they'll realize that tag sales are not permitted at this time. And maybe we can even reach out to a couple of the quote unquote town Facebook pages there. Maybe we can put something on that, just remind people that tag sales are not permitted at this time. Okay. Okay, so maybe that's something we can look at doing. I'm sure.
You're on mute, Glenn. I see your lips moving.
What's that, Jay?
I said I could see your lips moving, but you were on mute.
I think sometimes it goes on mute without me knowing. But yeah, so I know, like I was saying, we can get that information out there. It's out there now for people who end up watching this on the YouTube GCAM channel. And we can also put it out there on the, like I said, the 2 Facebook pages that relate to some of the town issues and town concerns and stuff like that. We can get out there, remind people that tag sales are not allowed at this time. So hopefully that works. As the chief said, one person didn't even know they needed a permit to do it. So getting the information out there will be helpful as well. Yeah, for old business, still got new business?
Before you go into old business, can you approve departmental reports?
Thank you, Chris. You saved Jen from yelling at me. At this time, we'll accept the motion to accept the departmental reports. If everybody's had a chance to read them.
I move to accept the departmental reports.
Is there a second?
I'll second Jen's motion.
Thank you, Jay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Mr. Chair, one other topic. The interim fire chief. We've taken care of it through September 8th of 2020. How are we going to move forward in replacing the fire chief? Do we want to schedule a meeting with the officership of the fire department to get their input? Do we want to open up applications from current officers at the department? Do we want to go outside the department? Just trying to get a feel.
I'll offer it up to the two other board members before I speak. I'll start off with Jay. Jay?
I don't know if it's appropriate to say about the mediation or not. Is that something we should wait before it's finalized? It's a question I have. I don't know what the answer is.
Well, as of September 8th, 9th, Bruce Carpenter will be retiring. So with him retired at that time, we won't have a person in place as fire chief. So I think that's the question we will, and based on some of the laws, actually require us to have a fire chief. Whether they're acting fire chief or to make, I think it's martial, there's a martial law or something like that, or martial, something to that point where we needed to have one to actually do some of the things.
If we're going to put out a job announcement, I would recommend that we put it to the outside, because I think the residents of Granby deserve the best qualified available, and unless you go to the outside, which includes the inside, you won't know who is the best qualified. That is available.
Right. I think at this point in time, I think we'll look at a temporary fill, not a permanent fill. Right, because we'll discuss, posting the job and going full out on hiring a new fire chief for the town. I think at this time we're looking for another interim fire chief. That's what I'm gathering at this point. Chris, is that correct? Right. Jen, your thoughts?
Whoops, sorry. That was very sensitive. I would like to speak to the officership on the department, just to get their thoughts on what they're looking to see take place. But I would like interested candidates to submit a resume so that we can take a look at what we have. I would like to stay within the department if we possibly can. But that's just me.
Yeah, in regards to looking for someone for replacement, I think we definitely put it out there. And we look at getting the best candidate and then the best person to fill the position. Whether that's in-house or that's not, I think will be answered and determined. But I think we need to make sure that we have the best qualified person in that position. I think it's going to be tough where it's just an interim position to actually maybe try to find someone outside. But I think we need to look at both sides. Like we need definitely. I think as this board, we need to put together what we consider to be qualifications that we want that person to have to be an interim fire chief. I think that's something we need to discuss first. I mean, again, we can get some input from the leadership from the fire department, as Jen has asked. But again, I think we need to look at as a board here as to what we want as far as qualifications. And have people who are interested in being that really submit their name, submit their resume, and that's something we can look at and do the interview process and figure out who we think is the best fit for the position as an interim. At this point, I guess that's where I am.
If
It
they're
could
only,
be someone inside, could be someone outside. I don't know.
well, if we're just gonna do an interim, then most likely it's gonna be somebody local, because nobody's gonna pick up their family and move for an interim job, put out a permanent job. I think that will be true of anybody. And if we're just gonna do an interim one, that's the way it should be written up. And then when it comes decision time that we're allowed to go out for a full-time person, then I think that should be outside and inside, so we get the best qualified for the residents. When I was the fire department liaison back on my first year in the select board, when a lot of stuff was hitting the fan, Dave Seifert helped me out a lot. And he's a 21-year veteran fire chief at Granby. And I believe that using him as a technical person to help us on, because I mean, let's face it, we're not firemen, and I'm probably the only paramedic between us three. Getting somebody like him to either tell us if the questions are right or create questions for us, you know what I'm getting at. Because he'd be a good technical advisor, I believe.
Yeah, I would agree, Jay. And yeah, I think we just need to look at that, and it's as it's posted. As you said, it would be posted as such. I don't know. We can't really put down a time frame on it as well. So it's something we need to look at as well. So again, I think I think moving forward, Chris is looking for some direction as to what we want to do, and I think that's a couple things have come up. Jen, and again, as mentioned, to speak with the leadership team from the firefighters, the fire department. We can do that, and then we can move forward after that too. Again, we need to look at, as you mentioned, Jay, reach out to the former chief and get some input as to some of the questions, some of the things that we should be looking at moving forward. I think this is an important decision that we need to make at this time.
Yeah, and for people, like, I don't know if Jen knows it, because you and I are on the board at the time, but when issues first started, former chief Dave Seifert took over all the administrative roles as the fire chief of the town. So that's why I believe he had very good standing with our fire department personnel as well. And I think they have a lot of trust in him. I have a lot of trust in him. And again, none of us are fire qualified. So, I mean, he would be there either to give us the questions, and he could, let's say, be a good technical aspect. I'm not saying him be it, but he'd be a good advisor to tell if the answers were correct and stuff like that. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jay. Jen, do you have anything else?
No, Jay, just that I do agree with you. We have some great resources in town that we should be utilizing for helping us find the best candidate. I agree with you 100% in that.
Chris, answer your question? Yeah. Yes and no, okay. You want further clarification or?
I think what I wanted to find out is should we be scheduling a meeting with the officership as a first step? And again, when would the board be available to try and schedule a meeting with the department officership?
Yeah, I would definitely think the sooner the better because we are against a hard date of September 9th. So
I do know you were talking August 10th at one point for the bylaw review hearing. Maybe see if we can get a majority or hopefully all of the officers together for that Monday night and meet then.
yeah, I mean that August 10th I think works for me. I think Jen shake her head yes. Jay, does that work for you? August 10th? We do like
I'm just gonna call up my calendar right here.
okay.
Yeah, we scheduled a 5 o'clock meeting for August the 10th. Correct.
No, we talked about it, but then we had changed it. It was going to be for to meet with the bylaw committee, but that was changed to later in August.
Okay, I put August 10th in my calendar. So if you want,
August 24th was going to be the meeting with the bylaw committee. Gives them enough time to prepare for the meeting.
okay, I'll have to change my calendar to August 10th for fire meeting, I assume 5 o'clock.
I think 5 o'clock should work.
And
Yeah,
August 24th is the bylaw public hearing.
yes, yes.
And I'll change my calendar accordingly.
Okay. So I guess and we have to have the meeting as such. And I would ask though too that when we reach out to them, if someone can't make the meeting, if they wish to, put something in writing, I think would be helpful too. To something certain that they're looking for, or something that they would have brought up in the meeting. That could be something, maybe everybody can't make the meeting. But I definitely like to have input from whoever wants to give their input. So as I said, so if someone can't make the meeting, then I would encourage them to write a letter or email and send it to Mr. Martin. Do that. Chris, you have anything else before we move on to old business? We have some minutes to approve.
We have minutes to approve.
Okay.
Have you had a chance to see them?
I didn't read every single one though. So if you want, I'll take a look at them quickly. One, sorry.
Did we have 2 meetings on June the 10th? Because I don't remember the 2 meetings on June the 10th. Because in the meeting minutes of one of them, it says I wasn't there. And on another one, the joint one is in my calendar, but I don't remember another one.
There was two, Jay, on the 10th. There was one at 6 o'clock and there was one at 6:30. Maybe you're right. One you were not there for.
Okay,
That would have been the 6 PM one, I believe, yes. So the 6 PM one you were not present for on the 10th. The 6:30 one you were present for.
okay. So make sure I had mine right, that's all.
I can make a motion.
Aha, motion away. I move to accept the minutes from June 10th, 2020, meeting at 6 o'clock. And the meeting of June 10th, 2020 at 6:30, which was a joint meeting with the school committee and finance committee. And the executive session minutes from June 15th, 2020.
Jen, can I just ask you to separate the one, because it's one that Jay will be voting on, okay? But there's actually two I don't think he'd be voting on, but there's one he will be.
All right, scratch that motion. I'll start all over again. I move to accept the meeting minutes of June 10th, 2020, 6:30, which was the joint meeting with the school committee and finance committee.
I will second that motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now I will move to accept the minutes of June 10th, 2020, 6 PM, and June 15th, 2020, 4:30 PM.
I will second Jen's motion. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I guess I have to abstain or recuse myself from those two. I can't hear you, Glenn. I see you looking.
Abstain.
Okay, I abstain from
Yeah.
both.
They abstain to both. Okay. All right, moving right along. Old action items, the water main proposed project. I guess we're still just waiting on, right?
Mr.
As far
Chair,
as
I believe action item number 2 relates to number 1, because that is the letter we requested from the water commissioners of South Hadley District 1, asking them to put a letter to us regarding their commitment and what they were requiring of the town of Granby in order to move forward with the water main project.
And we haven't received it yet.
Actually, you have it in front of you. I think it was handed to you at either the last meeting or the meeting before, because a letter came to each board member in addition to myself. I just made a copy of mine so the board could reference it tonight.
So, Mr. Chair, I believe that leaves us with determining how many people would be tying in, correct?
Right, that's what we need to find out exactly how many people in that particular area that would actually tie into.
I know Kathy has all the letters for the property owners addressed. And I have submitted draft to go into the letters to everybody. I haven't heard back either way, but also in that time frame, Mass DOT has withdrawn all their in-kind funds. And I know we have sent a letter to our politicians to request a meeting with them concerning Mass DOT withdrawing their funds, because we cannot go forward without the Mass DOT in-kind funds unless the legislator or politicians are going to replace that money with something else. And I haven't seen, there was one letter that came back that I did see, and basically it just said that the politicians, Mass DOT is withdrawing the funds, and replied to the politician saying, yeah, we know that. That's what we wanted to talk to you about. I haven't heard anything since then myself. Maybe Chris has, I don't know. I haven't heard a thing since to schedule a meeting with them.
Chris, was there any, I remember seeing the letters being sent out, emails being sent out. Was there any reply from them? No, Senator Lesser, I remember seeing that one.
Chris is on mute.
Isn't that the letter that we got in response to that email?
We got a response from Joel saying that Mass DOT has withdrawn their funds. And I replied to it with a CC to you, says, yeah, Joel, we know that. That's why we want to talk to you. And they've never replied to that email.
I don't remember seeing anything come back after any of that stuff, Jay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I haven't seen anything from them since that last one either. So, as you stated when we first were going to send the letter, that they may have higher priorities with the COVID-19 that they were addressing statewide than just us. So we didn't know when we would get a reply. So I would just say leave everything status quo until we get a reply from our politicians.
Right, because we can't move forward out with the in-kind funds from the state. We can't do that. We don't
That's
we have the
correct.
funds to do it.
And it would be a shame if we were to drop the project now, then in a month or 3 weeks or whatever, they come back and says, yeah, we got you the money. What are we gonna do then? So we just have
Yeah.
to leave it
Yeah.
open until they make their decision.
I agree, Jay. We just leave it open-ended and hopefully we'll get some feedback from the reps and the senator and moving forward. I mean, who knows even now with the state budget and whether or not they're going to be doing some of the things. Some of that, some extra work, I guess, at this point in time.
And as far as the letter from South Hadley requesting the quantity, I don't see any reason to go to our residents to get a check for $2,000 each to join if we don't even know we're going to do it. So that letter, our response to South Hadley would be dependent upon if we were going to go forward with the project or not. Because they wanted us to collect $2,000 from each of the property owners and then give them one lump check. Remember that?
Yeah, but I think it's still, we should at least send a letter out to the property owners and get, ask them to answer us, and we can keep track of it too. Whether they're a yes or a no in regards to it. So that way if the project does come up, we're kind of ready too. We're not waiting on that. So I think it'd be helpful if we do it now. We can use the response from yes or no.
I have no problem with that. Everybody always already has the drafts that I submitted. If you review the drafts and like them, then we can, like I say, Kathy's already got the envelopes made up. The only one that's gonna have to be changed when Jill sold the liquor store is a new owner. So that's the only one that would have to be updated as far as getting it. But we have to come agreement on what is the letter gonna say that we're sending to our residents in that area.
All right, why don't we make that a topic for our next meeting to review the letter and get it to what we want exactly say, and then we can send it out before the end of August. We can get it out there.
That's fine. I'm just, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody.
We should be prepared, and if it does come back, at least we're still moving forward with the information, so we're ready at least on that point. So, you know, the state does come back and says they're willing to move forward with the in-kind funds, then we can look at it and we're kind of ready instead of going back out and do things like that. So.
Mhm. Well, okay. Well, do you want me to send the drafts, or do you want, you guys all got them, or don't worry about it, we'll discuss it the next meeting.
Yeah, why don't you send them out, Jay? Send them to Chris, and then we can have them here at our next meeting and we can review them. Chris can send them out, and you know, Jen and I can, you know, make any comments on them, and we can come up with a solid draft that we will send out as a letter.
Yeah, I presume you already have them, but I guess.
I may have read it. You're probably right. There's a lot of information coming through lately. A lot of different things, so.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, we have a question from the media. Would you allow? Melina, go ahead.
Hi, folks. I actually have a few questions. I can wait until after. I know you have one last action item, so if it's easier, I can wait until you folks are done, because I actually have a few questions, if you don't mind. Glenn, I'm sorry, you're on mute again.
Yeah, that's okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, if you just give us a couple minutes, we'll finish up and then we'll come back to you. Okay? Lastly, the information for the EV charger at the EMS, did we get that information?
Been dealing with Acuity. They have actually, Dave Lucas had sent Jay an email. Apparently the units are offline and they can't ping them. So they need to get a hold of the manufacturer for the EV chargers to find out what's going on and see how they can reboot them, for lack of a better word.
Well, that'd be interesting too, to know how long they've been offline and why they went offline. And if there's no notification when they go offline, how are we supposed to know that?
Well, part of the issue is I was able to get in there until they did till COVID came in, and they had to do some changes in the network at the school for the remote access stuff. And all my stuff stopped working then. And I'm wondering if by making some changes, they disabled the ability to get to the units now.
Have you spoken to David about that?
I was talking with Acuity, because Acuity is the one who does his system also. So when the guy was here talking with me, I was telling him I can't get there. He started trying to look and he couldn't figure it out. So I know he was going to the school to be on site and do his check up at the school. And that's when they got back to Jay and said that they can't see him at all. So.
Yeah, I remember when the VLAN was put in the school for the EV charges. and Chris showed me that he had
Either of the board members have anything else to bring up at this time?
well, I'm talking, if you can't hear me, I don't know. When the EV chargers were put in the school, they were put in on a VLAN because they are for credit cards. And Chris is the only one that had a shortcut on his desktop to get in there. I remember him showing me the shortcut so he could get the reports and he could find out what's going on. And I believe what Chris said is 100% correct, that when they went in and they adjusted their IT system, they must have done something with the firewall or something that Chris's shortcut would no longer work. Chris's shortcut should still have the IP address of the EV charger payment station that he was connecting to. I don't have it because I never had access to it. Chris had the sole access. Well, I shouldn't say sole access. The manufacturer also has access to those EV chargers because we're on a 3-year remote warranty plan. So Chris and the manufacturer were only ones that could access it. I imagine if Chris cannot access it, I'm presuming the manufacturer cannot access it either. Would you say that's true, Chris?
Yeah, I agree with you, Jay. The issue is, like I said, the issue is I think the issue came when they went in and did something to the firewalls for that remote access for when they shut down for COVID. And I think they shut down something or shut down a port that possibly we need to get into to be able to access those devices.
I agree entirely with you, Chris. But I think if we look at the properties of your shortcut, that should give us the IP address and the path to get in there. And if we give that path back to David, he should be able just to turn it on for you. And I'm assuming if he turns it on for you, it'll be turned on for the manufacturer for the remote warranty as well. What do you think? Do you agree, Chris?
Yeah, I can go in and open up because it gave me, I think I had two addresses I had to do. One to get into the firewall itself, and then beyond that, there was a IP address, I think, to get to the admin site for the charger itself.
Exactly. And I think if you give those addresses to David over at the school, he should be able to fix them because only you and the manufacturer have that specific path and addresses. I don't, because I'm not authorized to go in.
Okay, to be continued.
Well, do we want to do, I know at the last meeting, we were going to put in for the EV chargers new library and extension. Has that been approved or what's the, because we have a contract date to be finished by 17 August. Has that been extended?
We sent
I
that.
haven't heard back yet, Jay, but
Okay.
you know, I looked at the revised estimate from JRS today and I told you go ahead and award it. We do have money available to be able to pay for that. And we probably should move forward and order the charger itself too. And
That was my,
the DOER, because I think there was a different person who got a hold of me.
yeah, I think,
Looking for an extension.
I think Stage-O has a helper now because you sent me that. The only thing, I will send a letter of intent to EVSE to order the one dual charger. Now that you've said that we have the funds to do it. I'll also ask the electricians, because the last I knew from the manufacturer, they had the chargers in stock. So it would only be a matter of days before they could be here. But they need a static IP address from the new library so they can embed it at the factory before they could ship the unit to us. So we have an action to get a static IP address out of the new library, just like we did on all the other ones, Chris.
All right, I'll have to send the email to Acuity, because I think they do the library also. So
They
we'll
do.
get one from them.
Do you want to do a VLAN over there like we did the rest because of the commercial credit cards? I can see your lips moving, Chris, but I can't hear you.
Jay, can you repeat that? None of us could hear you.
Okay. Ask Chris if he wants to do a VLAN at the new library, like we've done everywhere else, because of the security of the commercial credit cards. Acuity would set that up for him the same time they would do the static IP address.
Yeah, I can do that. Why don't you just send it to me in an email so I make sure I get everything over to them that we require of them in order to move this project along. Okay, Jay?
Yeah, not a problem. I just want to know where we are and what you want me to do, because I don't want to overstep my bounds by ordering stuff that we don't have the funds to do with. And yes, I got your email today about telling the electricians, but before I can get a date for them to come in, we got to get a shipment date in that the hardware will actually be here.
Right, so, but yeah, no, what I'll do is tomorrow, when I come in, I will ship a work order off to Acuity to give me a static IP address at the new library that I can then send over to Dean and have him move forward.
Okay, and you want to do a VLAN at the new library for the security of the commercial credit cards?
I'll ask them if they can set one up for me so I can get into there easier. And,
Yeah.
Go from there.
Okay, I'll put it all in an email to you.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. With that said, is there anything else, Jen or Jay, you want to bring up right now?
The only thing that I had on my list, I believe all of us received an email from Lou Barry in the Parks Committee that they were a little upset about not getting a grant. The only thing, I'll just restate the position. I think we should get that grant writer position in here because we need all the revenue that we can get as soon as possible. Because any money we get is going to help defray the costs down the road of everything else. An example on the green community application, that is approved, that we approved for approximately $200,000. And you may not know, but Chris and I know that we have to replace a couple of the high pressure water pumps in the junior senior high school before the heating season comes forward. Well, there's no money, to my knowledge, planned for that because we're hoping the green community grant fixes that. I think Chris will remember that. So if we don't get the grant, we're going to have to come up with money for those pumps so the junior senior high school won't have heat this winter. And then they say if we get the $200,000, that more than pays for a grant writer to have them on staff. What would a grant writer cost us, Chris? Maybe $50,000 a year. So if you got one every 4 years, we'd be breaking even.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen grant writers cost a lot more than that.
Depending on what they're going for, you're right.
Depending how good they are.
Yeah.
I'm almost thinking if we could almost subcontract some grant writers out, and if we have certain grants we want to go after,
And
kind of
make
pay.
them, yeah, make them work on a percentage. They get a percentage of what they get for us. And if you don't know, the state traditionally, not all, but traditionally allows us to put in for 10% administrative for all the state police.
Well, good. Like I said, it's definitely something we'll continue talking about. Maybe it's even something we can look at as far as a grant writer where we can, as I said, we can, find someone that, I don't say freelancers, but freelancers, and that's what they do. They're grant writer. They don't work for any particular thing, or person, but they work for themselves or a company. And we can look at hiring them out that way. So
That
we
would
don't
be-
have someone full time.
As long as we get money coming in, that's all that matters to me. More money coming in than going out.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Jay?
No, that was it. That's all I had. I think our Parks Committee is doing a very good job with the dog park and everything they try to do, but I can understand their frustration of applying for stuff and not getting it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, Melinda, you are now up. You have some questions for us?
Yeah, thank you so much for taking these. I really appreciate it. I actually have a few, so I apologize. I'm trying to kind of catch up to speed. So going back to earlier in the meeting, is the bylaw review an annual occurrence, or is this an ongoing part of a master plan? Just trying to get a little bit of context to the public hearing.
Al, do you want to answer that from the bylaw committee?
Sure. Hi, Melina. I'm Al Richard, the chief of police and the bylaw review committee chair. Our bylaws basically say that they're supposed to be reviewed every 2 years. Ours have not been done in an incredibly long time. Nobody even knows. It's taken us quite a while to get through them. So I guess to answer your question, it's something that's supposed to be done on a regular basis. We've been working on it for what seems like it's got to be at least 2 years or so now, if not longer. So the public hearing is part of the process of getting them approved. And so we've already had one public hearing. We covered chapters 1 through 8, I believe. I might not have it exactly right. And so we have planned to have at least 2 more covering different sections, trying to get the information out to the public and what's a consumable amount, because it is a great deal of information. So it hasn't been done for a while. We're getting down to the end stages of it, and we're just trying to get the information out to the public. That's the purpose of the public hearing.
Gotcha. And a brief follow-up, if you don't mind, while I have you. Do those ultimately have to be approved by the town at an annual town meeting, or is that ultimately up to the bylaw committee?
No, it's completely up to the townspeople, and they have to approve it. They would have to approve whatever goes forward. The way the process works is it has to get to town meeting, has to be approved by town meeting, and then it has to go and be approved by the Attorney General's office.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Al. I appreciate
you.
that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So additionally, kind of going off of the yard sale comment, was curious, we could put a little bit of information into both the Town Reminder and the Sentinel, letting folks know that yard sales aren't allowed. Is that a COVID-19 precaution, or is that just because they need approval and they haven't gotten approval, or just wanted to get a little bit more information? I kind of have a lot of random questions.
That's based on the COVID-19. They were put on hold at this time, just due to precautions.
Gotcha. Just trying to write that all down, and I can let folks know that they shouldn't be doing those, or it's not recommended. And so I know that there's some ongoing litigation, so I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but just objectively speaking, can the board or the town confirm that the last day of the previous chief was July 23rd?
The last day. Yeah, his last day was July 22nd.
Okay. And then have there been any like official complaints submitted to the town regarding Chief Mitchell? Like, right.
Yes, there's no comment on that at this time.
Okay. And then I was also just curious if I might be able to have minutes or draft minutes from the board from May 27th and also July 22nd of this year.
What were the dates again on that, Melinda? July?
Melina, it's May
Oh, Melina.
27th
I'm
and
sorry.
July 22nd. It's okay. It's a unique name.
July 22nd, July 27th?
Yes, please.
I don't know, have they been approved yet by us?
I know the 22nd was rather recently, but I couldn't find any minutes on the website.
So, Melina, the May 27th ones have been approved and they've been released. The July 22nd have not been approved by this board yet, so they haven't been released yet.
And do you know where I might be able to find the minutes if they were released? I couldn't find them anywhere on the website.
Probably get yeah, we get a copy to you. If you want to email our town administrator, Mr. Martin, we'll get a copy to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then I believe that is it. Let me just check the agenda one more time. Oh, also, just out of curiosity, are departmental reports filed with you each month? And are those available to the public as well?
I'm sorry, you faded out during the question.
Am I frozen?
Yeah, no, you
Oh,
faded out.
sorry about that. I wasn't sure if I froze or it was you folks. So I was curious if. Oh, can you hear me?
You keep on going in and out. Can you?
Oh, here, let me try turning off my camera.
Now you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can, yes. If you're speaking right now, Melinda, I can't hear you.
Melina, if you want to put it in the chat box, I can ask it.
They're filed weekly. Oh. I know, but just so people can hear what's being said. That's all.
Mr. Chair, if she's asking if she can get a copy of the departmental reports, any document that is presented to the Board of Selectmen and discussed at a public meeting is a public document.
I'm not sure what she's asking. I don't. Jen's working on that right now. I know she wasn't coming through, so we couldn't hear what she was saying. But I think she's asking the question via the email or the sidebar. She's there. Melina, I don't know if you can hear us, Melina, but if you were speaking, we can't hear you. Oh. Okay. All right. Well, Chris, she's gonna email you, requesting the other information, so if there's any other information that's public record and she wants it, then we can give that to her, obviously, so. But she will be contacting you, so just froze at this time. All right, is there anything else for anybody? All right,
Chris,
entertain a motion.
Chris, one question. Since I'm gonna be contacting EVSE for the new library EV charges, did you hear me, Chris? Okay. Since I'm gonna be contacting EVSE for the new library EV charger status as far as availability. Do you also want me to ask them what they have for their shortcut properties to get into the school system, or you just want to use the properties from your shortcut, which should be exactly the same as theirs?
I can forward mine to David. I think that'll be easier. Do I
That's
really
fine.
have mine saved as a text document, Jake? I can just forward that over to David.
Right, in the properties, it should have the string in it, but you can just copy the string. So I'll just worry about EVSE and the new library. I won't be involved with the school at all. Okay, I just want to go across borders here, that's all. And make a motion to adjourn.
Well, thank you, Jay.
I will second that motion.
Is there any other discussion at this time? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you, folks. Have a good night. Take care.
Good night, everyone.
Yep.